But let's go to our story in Spain, where emergency teams are struggling to restore basic services to the Spanish region of Valencia, days after devastating floods led to the deaths of almost 160 people and caused widespread devastation. Hundreds of thousands of people are without mains water, and in some areas only a fraction of mobile phone services are working. The head of the Spanish region of Valencia has announced $270 million of aid for those affected by the floods. The Valencia region was devastated by an entire year's worth of rainfall in just a few hours. It triggered flash floods, and swollen rivers in the mountains flowed down to the coast, bursting riverbanks and sweeping away bridges and roads. From Valencia, Bethany Bell reports.
Rescue teams are still searching for missing people. People have been lifted to safety from houses. Other teams have the grim task of recovering dead bodies. Officials here say dozens of people remain unaccounted for and that it's not possible to assess the full impact of the flooding. Homes, businesses and shops have been destroyed. Volunteers have arrived to help with the clean-up. The scale of the flooding is huge. These satellite pictures show Valencia a few weeks ago and what it looks like now. Survivors have told us how they felt abandoned by the authorities.
I'm sorry, it's just helplessness, it's impotence. The government, they don't do anything. Every 4 years or 2 years, I'm starting over again.
We are not thieves. I work as a cleaner at the school for the council, but we have to eat. Look what I picked up, food for the baby. It's wet, so I don't know if I can use it.
People are struggling. In some places there's no water or electricity and the internet is down. And there's mud everywhere. Bethany Bell, BBC News, Valencia.
Well, our correspondent Nikki Schiller is in Valencia, and he explained how difficult the conditions are for emergency services dealing with the aftermath of the flooding.
You may remember that there was a pile of cars in this spot. Now, in the last hour or so, they've been moved, some of them onto the road, some of them have been taken away by JCBs. But it rained overnight, so the authorities are still dealing with this really deep mud that's here on the ground. But the local community is coming together. You can see down this street that there are dozens of people who are walking up. Many of them have got brooms and they've got spades and buckets, and we've seen a steady stream of them all morning walking up this street, and they are heading this way, which is where the area has been cut off from power and has been really impacted by the mud. These people don't live there. There is a massive community effort that is going on in this city of Valencia to try and help, because 7 kilometres down that road, you would hardly know there has been a flood. So local organisations, local churches have asked people to come together. And you can see over here, they are carrying brand new brooms that they've brought, and they're heading that way to help clear up some of this mud that is there. And they're also bringing food and water. You will see people carrying water that they need to help during the day. So this is the community effort that is going on here in the city to try and help the people who were really devastated by that flooding. But in the rest of the country, we are still talking about a rescue operation, because you've seen in the reports and on the pictures that are on social media and on BBC News Online, there are areas that are still cut off, and troops have been brought in to try and rebuild the infrastructure, because bridges have been washed away. So getting in on the ground is really hard. And what they're having to do is use helicopters. We saw some dramatic rescues yesterday, and the authorities are are concerned, once they get into those cut-off areas, sadly, the death toll is likely to rise. We're already at around 160 people who have died, and you have to go back to 1973 when there was a natural disaster in Spain when a similar number of people lost their lives. But Sarah, this is not going to be something that the community here are going to be able to deal with in days, weeks or months. This is going to be years before this area of this city, I think, gets back to any sense of normality from before the floods.
That was Nikki Schiller reporting from Valencia. Let's just take you to those live pictures. That's Torrent, which is about 7 kilometres west of the city of Valencia. And I think you can just get a sense there, can't you, of the immense power that water must have travelled through the residential areas, because you can see there that a huge lorry that's clearly been picked up is now jammed underneath that bridge. I don't know if you can just make out underneath the lorry. There's at least one car, possibly more. You can see further cars in front of it. It just gives you some idea. It's the extent of the cleanup. As you were hearing from Nikki Schiller, the search and rescue operation is still carrying on because there are parts of the region which are simply inaccessible at the moment, and so obviously there is a huge concern that the current death toll at the moment, which stands at 158, when those inaccessible areas can actually be accessed by emergency services, that death toll may rise. You can keep across all the latest from Spain on the BBC News website. Reports there from our correspondents on the ground. As you can see there, the latest with that very, very extensive clear-up.